1, 2, 3, hello. That works perfectly. 1, 2, 3. That works perfectly. 1, 2, 3. That works perfectly. 1, 2, 3. Good. Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of FlutterExplained. How are you this morning? Hope you are fine. Ah, here's the camera. So, just making some space, getting ready. You know, it's always interesting 5 minutes before the stream starts. I always need to prepare anything like coffee and having some other issues that I need to do. Interesting. So, thank you for joining. I'm really looking forward to see what we are doing today, because we have some topics that I would like to discuss with you and maybe create a nice little stuff that we can do together. The one option, or what I would like to start with, is as always the good old PR from us, from the GitHub Flutter repository. And as you know, we have the icon color modifiable via the constructor this time. And thanks to Tim Whitting, oh, I can maybe share the screen. Here we go. So, and thanks to Tim Whitting down here, he really created for us the decoration, and he saw that I removed something accidentally. And thanks to him, I had the opportunity to really bring that back. And what I also did is I created a test for that. Because as you can see, I removed that part up here. The if decoration enabled is focused. And with that, we got an error. But the problem is that there was no test covering that. So what I did is I directly created a test for that so that this is done. So this is currently the state of our PR at the moment. Okay, so let's see if the chat is working. Can someone write something in the chat? Can I see something? Would be fantastic, just to make sure that everything works well. And I think I have to get rid of the notifications here. Oh, this works. Oh, I see right now that my image is covered behind bars. Hey, the code guy, thank you. How are you doing today? Move a little bit to the right. Oop. So I think. Hey Flutterers, nice to see you. So yeah, the idea was that we have today an open topic, so we can work in all the different projects if you like. So I want to hear from you what you wanted to say or what you want to see. If we should work on the Flutter project, if we want to maybe go into a private project from me, that is the electric calculator, or maybe doing a whole different project. That's fantastic, coding guy. I'm really happy to see that. Or that we start a whole new project, or if you have any questions regarding maybe the Chingu stuff that we announced yesterday, or if you have any other questions, just let me know, then we can work also on that. So what do you think about that? Is that a good option for today? Oh, in the meantime, I can run the tests here. So, alright. So maybe I can start in the meantime by just getting a new project. So yeah, maybe I have all said it already, but there was some changes in our PR that we created for the Flutter project last time. And the problem was here that I removed accidentally the decoration enabled and is focused part that we received from Tim Whitting, who has checked our video, and he told me that I removed that, unfortunately. And what I did is also adding some tests for that to make sure that nobody else will remove that once more without knowing it. And that should now help us. Additionally, I also added in the proposal of the whole thing the question if we should create like an icon colors part where we have all the different colors here inside. So if you are interested in that, it would be fantastic if you could give an upvote or a downvote to the different solutions that are currently there. so that we can find a good solution for everyone here in the GitHub repo. Alright, and else we still wait for the reviewer to have a look on the whole thing and give us some feedback there. Okay. So, do you have any open questions that you would like to cover or that we should take a look into? Or should I maybe start with our electric app? I think, do I have that already? No. So I have to go to a specific repository because this is unfortunately not an open source project. So I have the whole thing here, or at least it is not yet an open source project. Maybe this will change in the future. We have the repository unit. For now, no. Sad. You are usually the one who is asking the most questions, Flutter. I was hoping so much for you. Okay, so in the meantime I cloned just the project from me. It's an SSH project, and I don't know if you know this application. It is currently in beta phase on the App Store, and it is just in beta because now here we go. Okay, that was super weird. Sorry for that. Now here we go. Okay, that was super weird. Hey Abby, nice to see you. So, my voice is back, I hope. Okay, in the meantime I tried to start it, and I'm thinking about to start it in the Android emulator. But what we also could do, and I think because if we are working on responsive design, we could maybe change the channel to master. Or let's say no master, because I want to work on desktop. Maybe we can work on the macOS system. That would be a bit faster and also a bit more performance. So I will just quickly upgrade here. Hopefully the internet connection is stable. I didn't answer the question. I just said we can work together on that problem with the responsiveness, and I can maybe show you how I did that in the PowerBill app. So in that app that I wrote once and I have still in the beta release. And maybe because I didn't do it very well, we could maybe improve it in that way that we can really work with that. And then you can really see how I would approach that problem at the moment, so that we don't have everywhere the media queries lying around. This is okay for you? So we will have a fantastic session about responsive design. Or what we also could do is improving the diagrams, but I will show you that in a second, what I mean with that. Because I had the same problem with the responsive design, and my first approach, and I can maybe show that already, my first approach was that I created different screens for different layouts. So I had a screen for landscape and one for the usual one, but the problem with that is if you have multiple screens, so like a macOS usually is, right? You can increase it, small it, and so on. Then you get different parts. We can also change the whole part that I have here that is currently written with the provider package with Riverpod. Can also do that. But I think next week on Tuesday there will be anyway a video for Riverpod. So there will be also that to-do list again and so on. I'm preparing there right now the video for it. And so I think there we will have also some more information about it. Dart support. Cool. What do you think about the Jingo project? What do you like it? Is that a good idea? Will you participate? Yes, that's good to hear. Okay. Try to. That's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it, to see how many people will participate and also what the result will be, because in Jingo you will get like a free project where you can still work on it. Yeah, I think the response should come very quickly or very soon. But at the moment we are just trying to collect all the registrations and then the response will come as soon as possible. So be aware. I think the 1st of August is the date where it will start at the end. Until then, we are trying to receive all the information from you who is wanting to participate and everything. And then you will get access to the Jingo handbook is the name, I think. I can maybe share you that. Jingo handbook is the name, I think. Yeah, so this one, and with that you will get all the different information. So what is a voyage, how is it work in a solo project or in a team project, what does pair programming means, technical resources and all that stuff. And this is pretty cool, but it's very heavy, and so you get some information how you can go further with the Jingo project and how you get more information, how you can participate and all that stuff. So it is pretty mighty, and it's really cool that we could work with them together, because they are really experts in like making boot camps for a cheap price at the end. And for us it is just that we have that in mind. Cool. Valentin, nice to see you around. So, and I'm downloading still. Yeah, in the meantime I can still talk a little bit about Jingo, because it's my favorite topic at the moment. We really worked a long time with them, and it's just fantastic that they were so supportive for us and worked with us. Regarding theme management, you mean themes regarding to dark theme and light theme, for example? Or do you just mean how you would create a theme for your application? Because I did both of them here in that part. And yeah, we can talk also about that as soon as the upgrade is finished. You have so that would be great. So our session would be, I write some to-dos, because most likely I will not remember that. So let's have inside of our lib, we write a file that I call todo.dart. And what I want to do is just writing here my to-dos down. So first we want to talk about responsive to design today. Today's topics. All right, so voila, responsive design. Then we want to talk about the theme management. What do we want to talk else? Riverpod was the question, right? So I think we have these 3 topics today. If you have more, I will just add them to the list, and maybe we then just jump in the next new live streams into this list and take the next topic that is important for us. Because as always, we have like 2 hours time. And I think if we are talking in these 2 hours about these 3 topics, that would be fantastic, right? Cool. And maybe I shouldn't keep that as a Dart file. Maybe I can call that an MD file. And then we have like a header, and here we have like a list. I think that's better. Let's begin. Yeah, I think the upgrade is done finally. So Flutter version, I think here everything is done. Okay, so let's make Flutter Doctor, of course. You had a question on Discord, so let me open up Discord. You was because of the bottom navigation bar. That will be a bigger topic, but I can add that. The bottom navigation bar, navigate, keep old bar or something, right? That was more or less the problem. That would be something that we can work on. Yeah. So, alright. So our Flutter Doctor is running. We have now our channel master on 1.21, which is fantastic. And now we can run our macOS by creating the folders for it. So flutter create dot. And hopefully we have no problems with that and we can directly work on macOS. That would be fantastic because the performance is there way better, usually. Can you read everything well? Is the size of the font okay? Oh. I still get these errors with the cocoa pods. It's really annoying. Yes, that's perfect, so that you can read everything. That's the most important part. Is there maybe already a problem on the GitHub repository? Flutter, Cocoa. Yeah, I can do that. The problem is I did that already. So if you look up here, you see it's getting running pod installed, but I can try that once more with verbose. I think that could work maybe. No pod file found. Okay, that makes sense because we are not in the macOS part, right? So we have to do it here inside. And we see that we get again an error. So preventing CocoaPod from embedding a second Flutter framework and causing error with the new Xcode build system. Okay, so maybe I have to. No. Prevent from embedding a second, okay. So it complains because I most likely have the Flutter environment installed and now it doesn't want to install it twice or something. The problem is the error message is really not helpful in that case, or? I am on master, yes. So if I check Flutter config, I should have... I could, but I created the macOS folder right away, right? That was seconds ago, so I think that is not the problem, unfortunately. There's a problem with the channel, okay, but Flutter channel tells me... So you mean that the master channel is currently unstable? Yeah, it could be. But on the other hand, I could also imagine, because I have the Flutter repository checked out, and there's a second part, because if I look at the error from this install CocoaPod, you can see up here that we have prevent CocoaPod from embedding a second Flutter framework. So it could be that because I have the Flutter framework as a repository down, and also on a different folder where I installed it, now the CocoaPods are getting crazy with that. What I could try is maybe starting that runner file inside of Reveal in Finder, inside of Xcode, and just see if there. Aha! Look at that. There are install additional. Here, do that, please. Alright, that up here. Okay, so maybe this installation was missing because there were a lot of upgrades at the moment for Xcode. Master always. And in the worst case, if this does not work, I will not work with macOS. Then it has to be the good old iOS simulator. Or maybe the other one, the Android emulator. Oh, there should be space. I remember now I don't like the iOS simulator because it's always going underneath my good old IDE. I will decide for the Android one in the meantime. And here we go. Now we can start up the app. A lot of heavy tasks at the moment on the PC, so it could take a while. I'm sorry for that. That's always the problem if you try too many things at once. But that's why we are here, right? So we learn something. And I hope I really can tackle these different topics. Or what I could do in the meantime is I could maybe create a cool thing for us. If I'm going to page, just a second, you will see everything in a second. Going to 5. And in the Google Drive, I will create a new document. And why I will do that is because I want to give you the opportunity to work with me on the topics that we are doing in the live streams in the future. So I will always add some topics here. And what I will do is adding these different ones. So maybe we can have them twice and like getting a voting system for the next live stream. And then I will increase the opportunities for you, and you have the possibility to improve our live streams too. So I'm not the only one who's working on that. So theme management, bottom navigation bar, questions. So this would be bottom navigation bar, navigate, keep old bar. So theme management, we can work with that. Riverpod is like live coding here, and responsive design is like an always topic. And why it's important to have that here, I can share that now. And click for live streams, yep, there. And we copy the link and I send it to you. And now you should have access to it. On the other hand, what is the... you are just a viewer, that would be bad. Let's make you a commenter, so you have the possibility to write also on that. And then we can work together on this part, whatever we need and whatever we want to improve here. And maybe I can even make that link even better. I can even make it, I don't know, editor would be too much, I think. But yeah, so if you have ideas what we want to do in the next votings or something, or in the next topics for the live stream, you can just add that as a comment and we can work on that together. So if you have more ideas or maybe also subtopics, so for example, responsive design could be something like landscape versus, what is the other one? Landscape versus, I always miss that. Okay. Landscape versus portrait mode. Then it could be also macOS and other devices. It could be like responsive widgets. It could be packages, all of that part. Here's already the first link that I will just add here. Fantastic, you see, and now we have all the opportunity to improve it. I had a question, exactly. Sorry, Flutterist, I didn't want to ignore you, I forgot just. How sad, I hope that I can somehow copy that easier, but now I have to really rewrite it. How can I obtain that user can fetch only one document per day in Flutter? That should be pretty easy, I think. It should be just a filter, but yep, let's think about it. Cool. So whenever you have more topics, we can add them here and then we can work together on that. I think that's a great idea so that we can improve in the future together. And also for this, we can maybe have a heading too, so that we get like a nice little structure in that document. Riverpod, or better, full topics. And Riverpod, second. Hello, Yan Yan. Yes, I am from Germany. That's pretty cool, I have to admit. Just can add all this stuff and everything is working. Okay. So in the meantime, I'll check if the Xcode is ready. Yeah, looks good. Let's have a look here. That looks also pretty good. And I think the emulator is also up and running. Cool. Perfect. This stuff is English, that's fine. So here I would like to open up the project from the runner Xcode, I think that one. And let's see if we can build that one in a macOS environment. Build failed immediately. Unlucky. Sehr schön. Well done. So what is the problem? Could not include pods. What is the CPU and RAM? You ask me questions. This is again a Mac question. I'm usually working on a computer, so on a Windows PC, so I have to find, I think about this Mac, is that here? Yeah, so this one. So the processor is an 8-core i9 and we have 32 GB of RAM, so it should be enough for today. I can just remember when I needed to configure the Mac that I tried to get the most of the stuff inside because it really has to work and I really hate to wait for stuff. So, and the worst thing is if you have like IntelliJ or something and you have to wait till something has loaded or something. I really don't like that. Okay, so we have Emulator running. So some specifics about this project that I created. First of all, it is multi-languaged. So what I did in the first place, because I don't know actually about my user group. Because when I started with this application, it was just a topic for myself. Because what I did with this application is we have a power meter down in the basement and I had to always note all the different values there. Like we have two numbers in Germany, that is HT and NT, but I think that's also like 100 years ago, it's just in this house. And what I needed to do is always writing them down, getting the differences and calculate that all by my hand. And I was like, really, there should be a better way to do that. And now I do this with my phone at the moment. And what I do is you can write your charges for the unit rate. So you enter that, and after that you get like, you calculate all immediately which is the right price and everything. So I see first the first error here. We have somewhere herzlich willkommen, so oder herzlich willkommen, which is German for welcome, or yeah, welcome. And now let's see how we can change that, because that would be our first bug that we can fix. So what do we have? Screens. So this would be, I have not worked a long time ago in this project, so please have faith with me. It could take a while till I understand everything again. So what do we have? Up. All this stuff. We have a scaffold with an app bar where I translate app welcome, and translate is as off. I don't know if you know about this internationalization package, but what I did is, if you check for the plugins, and I think there's also the same plugin for Flutter Marketplace. There's also the same package. There's also the same package in Visual Studio Code, which generates you L10N. So you get directly translated texts, and you just have to create these intil files called ARP files. And here you can translate all your different parts. And with that, you get translated texts in your application wherever you use that this cool, what is it, inside of the welcome, this s.of context, and then you get like this translate object where you get the different values, right? Like in the app bar welcome. But now we see that there is an English translation called Herzlich Willkommen, which is wrong, which is just welcome. So, and now I have to install the plugin, I think. Without that, we will have not so much fun with that translation stuff. So, Flutter. Flutter Intel is the name of the package. And I have to restart the IDE. Unlucky. Okay, doesn't take too much time. And here we have some information that I would like to add. Cool, blocking landscape mode on certain devices. That should be pretty easy. But I'm really happy that this comes out, because a lot of people really like to do that, and we can do that especially on some certain screens. That would be interesting. I think I have not done that yet, but cool. Can I make this one on a full size? No worries. Hey Minu, nice to see you. And now you can also help me with translations, because I think most of you know the English terms way better than me. But it's a good question to the round. What do you think about this application with the entering of the power numbers? Do you need something like that? Is that also the same way at your hometown? How do you manage your power bill? Or do you have already, luckily, these automatic electric calculators that sends only the usage to your phone? I know that is also existent. So, in the meantime, Dart Analyze is getting some issues. Okay. Okay, this is just a test that I wrote once. Ignore that for now. And we can remove this to do here. Hey Deepak, nice to see you. Hope you are well. So where is now our Intel package, and why doesn't the translation has worked? Remove local initialize for project. I think we have that here. Okay, I just have to save the file once. Now it will recreate all the stuff for us. Or it downloads first a lot of stuff. Okay, and in the meantime, we can have our first look on the... I see. You see, I use here an emulator, which has this auto rotation on. If you see that, if I'm moving the phone to the right or to the left, on the Nexus, you will get this little icon that you have always to click. And then first it starts to rotate the screen. And wow, that looks very funky. What happens here? All right. So, but this is what I don't like. It makes not so much sense for the emulator to, if I want to test responsive design in that area, I really don't like if I have to always move that. This is unfortunately not in my GitHub repository yet, actually. It is currently a private repository, but I think I can also make that public maybe in the future. I have to take a look into that. So, and I think for the autos rotate, you have to go to the settings and you find underneath display the option for auto rotate screen. And I will activate that. So you have it way easier if you start up your application and you rotate now. It should rotate the whole screen immediately and don't wait for it. Cool, I really like the idea. I think I add that also into our description so that people can add more information to that. Save. Cool. So now, and then we can finally begin with the responsive design. Cool. So now we have welcome up here, and with that we have made our first translation. A device preview is a very good idea for responsive design, absolutely, yes. So I think that is maybe the first thing that we can do to integrate that. Why the options are getting always opened? I rotate the screen, but as you can see now the auto rotate works as expected. But as you can see for this screen, we currently allow the user to change the device screen. So what I would like to do is for this welcome screen, because we have that blocking landscape mode in certain ways, we could maybe start with that in that area, right? So packages here, I could also add in the meantime device preview, right? So this blocking landscape mode on certain screens. Let's have a look if we find something there. So if I'm going here and search for Flutter block landscape on screen. So, and now we have the system chroma set preference orientation, and with that we can say it for the whole application, I think, right? Class specific. Ah no, it's in the init state, so we can do that there. And in the dispose we would get rid of it again. Okay, that makes sense. So let's try that out if this is working. So we are going to our welcome screen in that area. So this one, which we found where exactly? In the UI screens. And there we had the welcome screen. And inside of init state, we use the system chroma set difference, set preferred orientation. So with that, we are now allowed, set preferred orientation is landscape right and landscape left, which would be the wrong, right? We want to have that as a portrait, up and down. Portrait, up, and portrait down. So for this screen, or at least till from the beginning on with that init state, it will now be in that mode here. So we have it always in portrait up and down. But now we have to make sure when we dispose this widget that we also allow again all the other screen sizes, because we just want to have it for one screen, right? So and if I add all this and I restart the application with hot restart, because init state and dispose is a state part, so it has changed, so we do that. And as you can see, if I now rotate, the auto rotation is not getting started and it stays in portrait mode. And if I'm going to the next screen, which we will do next, because I have still to add some stuff. So we have a provider name for our power supplier. Max 2000, because it's the best supplier. It has a standing charge of €8.80 and it has a unit rate of, let's say, 23 cents. Our current meter reading is like 500 and NT is also 500. Now we choose a date when we want to start with it. Let's say today, or let's say at the 1st of July. And now let's say next. Okay, so we currently don't have any standing charge, we don't have a unit rate, we don't have any total cost, because as you know, the power supplier prices comes with the unit charge and the standing charge. But I see right now, why is the standing charge 0? That can't be. This is also somehow wrong. So we don't have any meter reading at the moment, which is also wrong. So you see, there are a lot of problems with the app. But it has a dark mode and a light mode already. And what we wanted to check is the auto rotation. And as you can see, this screen has now the possibility, I'm sorry for, and as you can see, the auto rotation is enabled again. So only on the welcome screen, we lose the possibility to auto scroll, to auto rotate. Right? And the best thing of this dark mode, because it is, I think, one of the topics. So if we take a look, theme management, I can show you how I've done that because I really loved it because it was super easy to do. Actually, I didn't really do nearly everything, anything there. If you take a look into the theme.dart that I created, and I maybe have to really give that free for the GitHub repository, you can see there is a theme data.dark, and this already contains the most of the information that you see here. And now we just overwrite the parts that we want to overwrite. So because it has something to do with power, I decided that most of my information tools will be yellowish. And with that you can just override it. And because the dark and light theme are already there, you don't have really to change a lot to make that possible. And the cool thing is you can really change all the different things, right? So if I don't like the primary color here, we can just change the color to gray, for example, or green. Let's make gray. And thanks to hot reload, I think the most of the stuff should also change right away. Oh, that didn't work, but what I could try is just changing. No, also didn't work. Maybe because of the state change, of course, because it is a provider. So I make hot restart. Yeah, and now you can see that everything is getting gray on the different levels. So that's pretty cool, pretty neat, and you can really use that. And how I did that actually is thanks to provider. So we have these two, dark theme and light theme, and we have shared preferences. And what I did, I created a selected theme. And this selected theme is the theme that is actually selected at the moment, so dark or light. And the cool thing is I created a theme provider as a change notifier. If we look into the main file, I have to make that a bit away so that you have space. In the main file, what I do is I'm going into my main file. And the first thing that I do is going to the shared preferences and get the instance and get the preferences here. I could also write await, but you see I make this then part here. So now I'm reacting on that. And I check if the dark theme is selected at the beginning. And if it is not selected or if it's not existent, I return false. And then the change notifier gets the information as the theme provider is dark theme. And then it's creating the theme accordingly. I think I created a video for that already once. And that's pretty neat because then we can swap the theme down here and notify the listeners, get the different theme styles, and that's it. So pretty much everything there. And I highly recommend that for every app because it is really just like, what, maybe 50 lines of code, maybe 100 in the worst case. And then you have a fantastic theme for your users. He can choose between two themes. And you could also create like a paid theme. So I see a lot of apps that are doing that at the moment. So if they are, for example, a pocket money keeper, so you have the possibility to add your own themes, and then you see a unicorn or everything is pink or something, and people can pay for that like 50 cents or something, and you get some money for it. And to create these themes is like a work of minutes, not of hours. So I highly recommend that. And the best thing, if Flutter is finally coming for Flutter Desktop or Flutter Web, we have the possibility to do that there too, and that's pretty neat. Okay, in the meantime, with all our hot reloads, you can see that something has changed on the app. So we have a unit rate now, and I think we have also our first entry in our database. Oh, cool. Can't remember that I did that. So we have already our first entry in the database, where the unit rate is $8.80, and the standing, or euros. Oh, I think I made down a mistake. That's good to know because we have also a setup option. The standing charge is of course €8.80, and the cents per kilowatt is 0.23 and update. But as you can see at the moment, the app is a little bit sorry for that. Panache. No, I don't know Panache. What does it do? pub.dev. Let's go to our redesigned pub.dev and search for Panache. It sounds like a drink. Panache. Okay, so Flutter. Flutter Material Theme Editor. Okay. try Panache in your browser. Ah, yeah, I think I worked with that on the beginning. The problem that I had with it is that I can't change the RGB color by entering text. I was getting annoyed by that. So, but the good thing is, if you show me that right now, we can create our theme here, hopefully. And the cool thing is that it will provide you already the whole palette of a theme, and you can change that in your browser and get the different infos. But unfortunately, somehow it broke right now. Ah, now. So now you see on the right side the app itself as an app preview, and you can change, for example, to the dark theme immediately, get like a feeling for all the different parts that are existent in a Flutter widget, or as possibility of Flutter widget. And you can change all the primary colors, all the colors of the accents, the chips, and so on and so forth. And then work with that and just copy the code, because somehow it broke again. But if I'm pressing on code preview, you receive the whole code that you need to implement this theming here. So I will add that also in our document, because I think it's pretty cool. Panache, but it's not responsive design, right? It's more theme management. Here we go. Create your own themes. And the cool thing is, because you have access to the document, if we enhance that with these information, with these additional informations, we can even use it as a reference. So if you need something very quickly, I can maybe add also the stream when we talked about these topics, and we can like having these connected. I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so but here I'm broken. Oh, you can even download it. I'm trying to reload. Okay, it is still in alpha, you know, then there's something like that can happen. But if I go to code preview, yeah, so you see this would be the override at the end. So all of these stuff has been changed. But of course, there's the question if you really want to override all of them, or if you really want to just take your bits and pieces that you need. And you can also download the whole thing, and I keep the file for now. And as you see, you get a theme.dart. And this theme.dart, if I'm opening that up, it contains now all the information about the theming. Okay. And the next thing that I would love to do is getting the device preview up and running. Because if we are working with that, I think that makes a whole lot of sense to create this. When I started with the application, device preview was not released yet. So you know how old it is and how much I hopefully have improved in the meantime. So getting all that parts. And I think I also have to update here some packages, because I could imagine that they are outdated. So let's try that with pub outdated. I don't know if you have ever used that, but it's quite helpful. And up here we get some information, what we have, the current version. So for example, providers currently at 4.0, and we could have 4.31. So and because it is resolvable, we have the possibility to also upgrade it to this version. So I will do that, because newer is always better. And for shared preferences, we can go to 5.8. That sounds also reasonable. And what is next? SQL Flight I'm currently using here, and this got just one upgrade. And get the Moore Flutter package. Let's have a look. Vija. I didn't have used it, but I'm really interested to see what it does. Moore is a reactive persistence library for Flutter and Dart built on top of SQLite. Okay. I heard about that. I think I heard about that. That would be fantastic. I'm not sure if I should use Moore or if I use Hive. The cool thing about Hive is that it is a NoSQL part, and it is super fast, right? If I see the benchmarks of Hive, I always get a shiver because it's so incredible fast. So if you compare that, it's crazy. I don't know if there is a reason for that, but it's really great. But I think Hive is not that good if you want to... Oh, why? It also contains all the parts. But I will have to take a look into the Moore package. I think it makes a lot of sense. What does it specifically? It's feature-rich, flexible, modular, safe. what I will do is I think I will add that also to our list, because we have another big topic, which is storage, right? So how to store data. On a device or in the cloud. So there could be topics like Firebase or SQL Flight, which then comes with the more Flutter. Is it SQL? No, it will be SQLite in that case, right? And then we have also Hive, and we have shared preferences. All that beautiful stuff. Okay. Yeah, I think it's amazing. The good thing about SQLite is that you have that data grid, right? So you have everything in a table. But Hive is like is no SQL, I think. So it's more like MongoDB or something like that, or Firebase, very close to Firebase actually. Yeah. Okay. So now we have updated our packages. I just run once more pub.outdated just in case. And what do we see? Is everything now in a good place? Dependencies are all up to date. So this is what I want to hear. I've just seen that there is an error here. Okay, so you see I made some mistakes with the provider, it seems, because there are some complaints about the provider unimplemented handling of static target. Okay. Maybe I have to restart the application for that. But as I said, this was my that was my first implementation of a real app that I wanted to provide to just see how it works. The good old, I will add that to Firebase down here. So this will be Firebase Caching. So you mean that you cache files and documents onto a local database. Whenever you start the app again, you get already that what you have. I have a lot of topics, that's true. But that's good, because then I can prepare the next time also a bit better. If I see something like that you are very interested in, for example, Firebase and Firebase caching, I can prepare maybe the stream a little bit better, so that I don't always sit here and say, yeah, we have to learn everything from scratch. Besides, if you like that more, then we can do that, of course, too. So I'm open for that. I also have to struggle in live stream anyway, so that's fantastic. What is that? We have now a code pen here, so let's have a look into the code pen. So we have here, yeah, our bottom navigation bar, that's there. And if I click here, you want to have the same bottom navigation bar, right? If I have understood that correctly. Profile page, yeah. So this has an own scaffold, and it is a whole new creation, and most likely we have the material page route to the profile page. So the best idea that I can see to keep that page stuff inside is to get this whole bottom navigation bar here into an own widget, and then just copy it or have it twice reflected. You would love raw experience, alright, so with all the struggle. I'm happy with that to do, to be honest. Okay, so where are we? Responsive widgets. What do we want to tackle next? Some upvotes. Do we want to make a voting for it? Let's have that. I think that's a little vote is always good, and then I can also see what you think. So make a poll. So we can do, what should we do next? Bring that. And the option would be like responsive design. Would be responsive. Then we have, of course, Riverpod. Vote for Riverpod. Then we have the possibility of theme management, where we could maybe increase the theme by another option. Then storage. And last but not least, what would be also interesting, what we could do, Yeah, I think that's for now. If you have some ideas, give me more. So, and we just keep up the voting so we can see what you are most interested in. So, here, Riverpod is directly starting. Hello, no here. Nice to see you around. Voila. So if you have never participated in a vote, it works like that, like Flutterist already did. He said exclamation mark in the text in the chat, said vote, and after that Riverpod or whatever topic you like more. So you have the options between responsive, Riverpod, theme, and storage. And after a while, I will finish off the voting, and then we can work on the next topic. In the meantime, what I could do is creating this question from... I forgot your name, sorry for that. And what I could do is just implement that in our application as a quick test, and we make for that a new Flutter project quickly. Here we go, that's a test, or better, bottom, navigation, or question. I just do that in the meantime because it's very easy to answer, I hope. And then we can have that in the meantime during the vote. So Riverpod has already 2 votes. That's fantastic. And here we can say new window because I want to keep the old one. And here I replace everything. So, and what we can see is we have the main page from my app and the main page here down here. So what I will do is getting the whole main page and bring it to our own file so that I can work easier with it. Or on the other hand, I could also keep it like that just because then I can copy it to a code pen and share it with you immediately. And I think all that stuff here needs to get in an own widget, like custom bottom or stateless widget, custom navigation bar. And now here we want to have that part. 3 Riverpods, all right. And now we could get the bottom selected index needs to be passed down. Where are we? We create a field for that. This is of course final. Hi Stefan, enjoy your work. So, and here we have a function that's called by onTap. And what I will do is I will just pass down the onTap here. So we have a final function onTap, and this onTap will be here. And it got an index if I saw that correctly. So it's not a void callback. For that I will give here the integer that will receive, like page. And the bottom is also final, and both complain that the constructor is not there. So I add the constructor named with both of the things, and I think the onTap is required. Is it? Yeah. So we have there a function and bottom selected index. Fantastic. And now we can use this custom navigation bar twice in our application. So the first part would be, where is it? Page view. So where's the scaffold? Here. So we can use that. Can add the onTap, which was, what was the method? Bottom tapped with the page. Voila. So this should do the trick. I don't have set up the Dart FMT, so that's why it's not getting, because I usually work in a Flutter framework, but we work now here. I think if I'm searching for Dart FMT, yeah, the reformat was not set anymore. I have to add that, and now stuff is getting beautiful. Okay, so we have the onTap ready, and this bottom selected index should be also part of this custom navigation bar. And this is not dynamic actually, it's an integer. Oh, animations is also a good topic. Mino, if you take a look into the video description, you will find this nice little document here that I shared. Copy link. Here we go. And here you can enter your suggestions for topics that you want to get covered. And with that we can have like a better overview what we want to work next. But what I will do in the meantime is add your topic because I really like it and I think a lot of people like it. So animations. The question is here, do you want to have specific animations? Because if you want to have very specific ones like implicit and explicit animations, where the difference is and so on and so forth, I will ask Marta if she will do it. Because she's way better in that topic. She's really good with animations at the moment. She's like the #1 place here. What I would really love to do is Rive. Because Rive app is fantastic and I really would like to take a deep dive into it. And there was also another one like Lottie is the name, I think. Okay, but let's get back into here. So we have this and there should be like a page number somewhere in the state, right? So this should be the bottom selected index. All right. So with that, our application shouldn't have changed at all. But we have now the possibility to receive this bottom navigation bar. And what we would have to do inside of this navigation, if we want to keep that stuff, we would have to add the whole thing here also. So we would have also here a bottom navigation bar with that stuff. And we would have, that would be ugly, we have to write a provider for that stuff. Most likely, because we want to share the state between these two pages. The problem, as soon as you navigate, your complete like state of this part is getting rid. So you lose every information about the other part. So you needed to create the whole thing also as a... why can't I see chats here? What do you mean with here? Where are you at the moment? Okay, so the problem is that we lose all the context, so all the information. So we would have to write, we could have that, I think it's a bad solution. We wouldn't do that. What you want to do actually is you don't want to have, I will revert that, because the idea that you want to do is not to create this parts, you want to have something else. Actually, you don't want to have a profile page. What you could do is, instead of navigating to the next page, you could create something like, I will remove that show, because what you want to do is having a show modal bottom sheet actually. So with the context and the builder, that then returns you the profile page. Chat is working, all right. So somewhere is an error up here. Yeah, true. Why is there an error? I removed now the whole thing. So I have to revert a lot of stuff. Okay, I can't do anything with the chat, so if it's broken, it's YouTube's fault. Blame them. Alright, so navigation, navigator.push, and remove that part. And here we need, yeah, the show modal bottom sheet is one idea that you could do. Another one would be a dialog. So context, and we would get this show profile page. Profile page, voila. That's my way how I want to get you on my website, so that you can see all the time some donation firing up and all that stuff. Alright, so yeah, fantastic. We have now the profile page, and with that you will see that your profile page will be visible a bit differently. So that means, how can I say it? Your profile page will be now in a show modal bottom sheet, which comes from the bottom to the top, and then you will see inside of that your profile view. The only problem that you maybe have is, oops, sorry, some weird emails, don't want to share them. I maybe can also close my Outlook. Nobody needs it at the moment. So the benefit of that is that your profile page is encapsulated, and as soon as you close up that modal sheet, you will receive again your state. So you see you have that scaffold down here now. Of course, you can also have something else. There is also like other modal sheets for that. But if you close that down, you will see you are still on the state here, so you don't really navigate. And I think that would be the better option for your use case, actually. So I will add that to you. And if you want to have really a page on top of it, you could maybe have a look, but then I wouldn't suggest you to use the page view with the free levels down there. Hope this makes sense. So what I will do is creating a code pen quickly for that. Coding? Wow, nope. I'm not logged in here, so let's see if I'm logged in somewhere else. Sorry for that. Here we go. Let's create a pen. So much text. Flutter pen. Bring the stuff inside. Save the whole thing. I call that bottom sheet example or something. Yeah, I think that makes more sense in that area because you don't really want to navigate, and so you can use that. Should be easier. Okay, so next step. We want to take our vote. Have you voted or all together? Is the voting already over? How does it look like? So after 11 minutes, we have just Riverpod. Is that what you want? Are you sure? Does anyone want to add some votes? So I will give you another 20 seconds. In the meantime, I drink a good cup of coffee, and I highly ask you, or I would really appreciate it if you would press the like button in the meantime. 10 viewers all the time. That's so fantastic to see you around. It's really great to see that you enjoy the content here. We really are working hard with that, and I really love that. You have to vote inside of the chat. Maybe I have to repost the chat message. Where is it? There was somewhere the chat message. Here we go. So, here. Perfect. So the poll is going on. So what should we do next? Use exclamation vote and then give whatever you want. So Riverside. Riverside, that was something. It sounds like music, or it was a band. Yeah. Okay, there are coming new votes. Perfect. Riverpod. I think Riverpod is winning at the moment. It's really a hot topic, that Riverpod, right? So really looking forward. I really love that package. Has a lot of benefits for me. Yeah, Stefan, at Tuesday next week, I promised a video for Riverpod after the questions, so I think we will anyway work with that. Thank you for subscribing, Rahul. Nice to see you around. So that we can have also in detail, and I try to get all the benefits and disadvantages of the package. So it's maybe good that I have this training session today. All right. So I will close the poll now. I hope you are ready. And I'll press complete. See what is the answer. Okay, so 58% were for Riverpod with change notifier. Okay, that sounds fair because it's the easiest way to do. And I will close off this project. I think we don't need it anymore. Terminate. And we are working with that. So fantastic. So the first step, if I'm going with a new package like Riverpod, usually I'm going to the page that is related to it, which is riverpod.dev. I will share that in the chat and bring it also into this package here. So we add like a getting started. Whoop. And this shouldn't be normal text. Oh, fantastic. Yep. And this inside. So if you go to this page, you will receive all the information here. So this is riverpod.dev. It's called Provider but Different, and actually it's super easy to use, and my good friend Fun with Flutter, that you find somewhere, has also created a fantastic video like where he created a to-do application with Riverpod completely. So I highly recommend that always, because he already did a good job. And why I love Riverpod so much more than Provider is the documentation. If you take a look into this documentation, look at this. He made pictures, he makes it nice to read, you have fun to read it. And I know this is not really a very subjective way to see a good package, but if you have a good documentation, you want to start with it, you want to read it, you want to understand how it works. And Remy improved here in any way, because I really didn't like the Provider documentation. If we can maybe compare them one by one. If you jump into Provider, you have that one README file with a lot of to-dos, with do's and don'ts and so on, and it was very hard to read and everything looked the same. So he really improved there in the Riverpod part. Okay, but that's of course not the only thing that has changed. The other thing is that you can now create still your providers, so they are still the same, like you have a class with a change notifier or a value or a stream or something like that you can push inside of the Riverpod and manage with that. But the cool thing is, for example, he implemented inside of Riverpod the state notifier immediately and also the state provider. Cool with that is also that you now declare the provider inside of a global variable. A lot of people don't really like that. I am okay with it, and also you have the opportunity to create a class that contains your providers. But this is one option to do that. And the benefit of that is you can access your providers now from anywhere. If you remember before, you had to register your providers inside your widget tree, which you still have to do. But now you have the opportunity to get a better understanding, a better grasp on your providers. Okay, another big benefit is it doesn't depend on Flutter. And it is compile safe. Compile safe, very easy to explain. It immediately runs on your computer as soon as it's not read anywhere in your IDE. So if your IDE says it's okay, you can run the provider and it works. Okay, but this is of course a lot of talking. Let's jump right into code and maybe click here get started. So now we have the first graph, which tells us how we can install the whole thing. And the questions are here pretty easy. Do you use Flutter? No or yes. So we use Flutter, yes. Do you use Flutter hooks? In our case, we do not. So we get Flutter Riverpod. Hooks Riverpod I have never worked with. We should have there another look maybe, because I don't know how the hooks are working at the moment. So I would say we use Flutter. And as you see, there are some requirements, but the important part are the dependencies down here. And what I really like is that he has also the copy possibility, so you can copy the whole thing. So, but what I want to double check is if the version is the same. So if I'm looking for Riverpod, here inside, looking for installing, we find, yeah, so the version is exactly the highest number, so 5.1 is correct. Okay, so let's install that. And actually what we could do is remove the provider package in the same amount. Because if I remove the provider package now and make pub.get, we should get everywhere errors where we used provider beforehand. And you see, this is quite a lot of places. But this makes a lot of sense for me, because now we can create the Riverpod at the places where we need it. Hey, Sudhanshu, I hope that's right. Oh, yeah, sure. The music is too loud, that would be horrible. I'm sorry for that. So, to give a starting value, then a second value in class. First value will be 0, and then if some operation, let's say successful purchase, okay, value will be 5 automatically. Well, automatically, I think you will have to write a method that gets triggered whenever you have that successful purchase on callback. but it should be possible, yes. So, so there are a lot of places where we use providers. So you see we have now everywhere errors. I hope I don't overtake myself with that. But let's start with the theme provider. So we have a theme provider somewhere in place, and this is living in theme.dart. And here we can already see that we use the change notifier, which is fair enough. And the provider itself, we don't really have to change. So if we look into the provider, we see we have still the providers, reading a provider, compute, and so on and so forth. But now, if we go to getting started, we have down here the explanation, how we could work, how we can work with it. And one option is that we create a constant up in the file where we say which provider we want to use. And down here, we can use the consumer like before. So let's try that. We go to our main.dart, and up here we create now our final const. Is it a const? It's just final, I think, yeah. And in our case, it's the theme provider. All right, and this gets a function with which contains then our provider that we have. In our case, it's the change provider. Change notifier provider. No. Does it not exist anymore? I thought so. Sorry, I have to quickly read the documentation. So we have the state provider. This is what I know. We can use the provider. State provider, consumer, raised button. Or did I do that with the state provider? I think. So we can access the provider actually, that will work, and state provider will be also possible, right? State notifier provider. Do we get any information about that? So let's jump into an example from Remy and go to the lib folder, check out the main.dart. So he created here a provider scope. Okay, adding provider scope enables Riverpod for the okay. So adding provider scope enables Riverpod for the entire project. I think this is what we have to do. All right, Minu, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for joining. So we have to give this provider around the around the my app. So that means we have to do that. I can remove that for now. We would have to do that surrounding here. So this will be the, what was the name? Provider scope. Yep, and why can't we import the stuff? Something is wrong here. Okay, to don't destroy everything immediately, I think I should get back the provider package for now, just to see what happens. And now let's jump into it. And here we will not have this change notifier provider anymore, because this is the old way to work with provider, right? So get rid of that. And we have this. So is dark theme is still necessary. And here surrounding the, is it surrounding the my app? Yep. So we surround the my app with the provider scope. Ah, yeah, you are so right. Thank you for that. That was, of course, pretty bad from my side. Yeah, I didn't check that correctly. That makes sense. Getting started. And I thought I even explained it, right? So I clicked here, but I copied wrong because I used in the, I was going to pub.dev and check for that. This was, of course, a mistake. So replace that. Pub.get. At least an easy fix. Cool. And now we maybe can import even the provider scope. Here we go. Okay. But still we need our final, what was the name? Theme provider. equals to change notifier provider, which is our theme. Has it a specific name? Yeah, theme provider. And how does it work here? I think we have a get started example down here. We get a context where we then just pass it inside. All right. I think I don't even need this part here. Just execute it here. Can we import that? No. I think the change notifier is not part anymore of the Riverpod package. So what we will have to do most likely is using the state provider in that area. And if we look into it, we have this create function that we have to put. And so let's see what we can do. So this gets us a context and we return something, which is our theme provider. Is that correct? Yeah. But now we have to pass down the boolean of dark theme on, because that is the initialization value. I think I have to change then also how it behaves at the moment, because currently we don't access the shared preferences inside of the creation of the instance here, because we can't wait for the creation, right? So how would that work with the Riverpod? We have the provide scope. We have here a normal provider, but now we are using the... Ah, cool. Also code snippets are there for this part. So with the pure provider, we can just read the value, right? There shouldn't be a possibility to change the value, but we have to change the value too. So we get my provider is provider, okay. We have known that. We can combine providers, that's fine. Cool, that's it. You guess? Let me check. So if we have Flutter Riverpod, right? Is there a change notifier provider? Yeah, it is. So we are fine, right? Why I am... So the question is now why I can't find it. Ah. So now I have just to be careful to get the right one, but you can see this is the package Flutter Riverpod. And it's still getting red, most likely because we import also this one. Ah, here we go. But still we are running into the same problem, right? We can't initialize it with something. I can just say false, for example. But that would be a fake actually, that would be wrong. Because we need actually here in that false part, we somehow need to have access to this isDark theme from the shared preferences. And we have that access actually, or? Let me think a second. How could we initialize that right? So we have now the provider scope, we get the provider activated, and here we would have the shared preferences part. Because this is a class, I could create that inside here. The problem is with that, it would be an await inside of a constructor, which will not work. Let me think. You mean, what can I do global? The dark theme part? I think that's not a good solution, or to make it global. I think I need on this theme provider, this can't have an initialization package. Because the votings, the voting was at the moment Riverpod. I didn't have decided for getX or not, so it was just what we decided at the moment. False. So, but a good point. I will add that to our document. Woo. Add it. That. So add it. And what I want to add is, instead of riverpod, this would be state management, right? And riverpod is one element underneath of it, so here. And another one would be getX, because it is one of the famous packages at the moment. Everyone likes it, so I think I have to cover that sooner or later. Okay, and anyhow, we can't provide here anything, so I have to identify what we will do with that in a sec. So instead of doing that inside here, we would have a function inside of this changed theme provider, and I think here we have to pass down the theme provider inside. Fantastic. Yes, I know about getX. A lot of questions there. And I don't know, my first impression from getX is it does too much. But that's my impression, I don't know. I still work on that, and as you see, I think Amateur Coder, a friend of mine, has already created some of the videos for it. You can use change notifier in Riverpod, absolutely. I was mistaken, I only imported both packages, like Riverpod and provider, and with that I came to weird errors. So you still can use the change notifier the same way. As you can see up here, it is just a constant that we use at the moment, and I use the change notifier provider with the element that we want to use. The only problem that I have at the moment is the initialization, and I think that's more a problem of mine, not a problem of provider or something. So, because we don't even need constructor here, because that theme provider is not getting initialized like I want to. So inside of our main, I have to make this shared preferences. We receive the isDart theme, and now I need to call a function on that change notifier, so on that theme provider that we have to access somehow. So I can do, for example, here theme provider dot, and now I have to change or execute a method on it. So I can read it with the context. I think that should work. No, we don't have a context yet. So in my opinion, the problem is that in theme provider, we would have something like init value, like init, which returns nothing. And here inside, we would have getting the isDart theme, which is Boolean, isDart theme. And now the question that we had in the constructor should be here inside. So I don't know if I've copied. Yeah. So the selected theme is dark theme on, which is dark theme. And this init will return us a future of void. Will it? Yes. No. I think not. It will just be the init part. And in our main.dart, we have then to change everything a little bit, because we get now the infos from prefs. But what we want to do is access the theme provider and init the whole thing. And I think for that we have to read it first, or how can I access it now? Yeah, I love Getit. I used that before, and I love Getit because of the whole testability and so on. It's way easier to do with that stuff. So I highly recommend you to also take a look into Getit. But we want to solve that now with Riverpod, so I have to do that somehow, and it shouldn't be too hard, right? So let's have a look. So how can I access the whole thing? We have a state provider in that case. I think a state provider could make sense to initialize it with any value, but also there we can't do it asynchronously. So how can we access our provider and call a method? Is it always use provider and then .state? That is something we could try. So can I access here inside use provider? No. So with that, I read the counter provider, okay. But this is only working in consumer, we don't have that yet. Yeah, it could be easier, but it wouldn't solve the problem, right? So this is just a computation. How can I call that now? Theme provider? I thought I have now directly access to the whole thing. Watch over, create, read with the context, add lazy listener, create state. Let's have a look, another look into the Riverpod main. So how does he change it? He needs to call increment somewhere, right? So counter provider read, he's reading it with the context. So maybe this is also the only possibility how to read it. But that would mean that we have a default value here that we don't really want. And what I could do is I could wrap that my app with a consumer. I don't know if this is a fine possibility with the theme provider. Yeah. You will need provider reference. What is a provider reference? So I will receive that from the theme provider here. Result, read owner, create state. No, get here anything from? Yeah, I thought I have to take the read, but because we have that inside, what I could do is I could get this consumer with context.read, and then I can work with that. I could wrap this one with a consumer immediately. This has a builder, I think, right? So we get this, take this. So what is the prop here? It is the consumer gets a builder, right? Which is directly a function, which we return our my app. And this is a context, most likely. Oh. Is that right? Ah, wait, we get two things, right? We get the context and read. So let's write that out, context and read. And now, instead of making a fat arrow function, we have here a bit more. Before we start the application, what we have to do is getting these values. We have to return something, and here before we can now access read and call the theme provider, where we then can now call the init part with the isDark theme. Okay, yeah, this one is complaining now because we have a multi-provider with all the different providers that we have to update now in a second. Wow. So you see, I created a lot of stuff during my first attempts with the provider package. So what do we have here? Here's another consumer that contains the material app, and what I can do is just take that away and remove the consumer here. I think that should solve the first problem. And this part with the multi-provider can go to, and we just return this part like so. Voila. Quite a lot of changing. But now the material app needs also to have access on the theme provider, but because you can see here, we use the get theme. And to initialize, we have to do it up here, so we would have two consumers. Is that a good option? Do we have any chance to don't do it? I think that init is anyway asynchronous, right? Synchronous. So my idea is that we remove this one. It is a good idea, but we have a better option, I think. If I take this my app and replace it with the consumer here, and I pass down into my app now the isDark theme, and add that as a constructor here. And why would I do that? Because if I have here now isDark theme, we have here this isDark theme. I think we can override that immediately. And this one would be final because it is inside of my app. And what we can do now is activating the consumer just there where we need it, so we don't get confused by all that stuff. This is a builder. No, we don't have a builder. It's just context and read. and returns us a material app. And here inside, we receive the theme, exactly. And now what we can do is, instead of that arrow, we use the normal one. The preferred way according to docs. Remember for initializing data in... Okay. Where do you read that, coding guy? So you want to take the provider reference with underline ref. Ah! No, I don't know. So you think inside of here I could access the provider reference ref, and now we could say something like ref dot read and getting the theme provider. Ah, that looks way better. Yep. I like that. So much better. Thank you for that. Absolutely. So I think ref gives us a reference to the whole provider part, and now we can access the part that we need. And I think, yeah, that should do the trick. Wait. We have to initialize that one, right? So where do we get the provider reference? Is that a singleton? Can we an object used for provider interact with the provider and life cycles depends on this both provider. So provider state owner.ref. Provider state owner.ref. How do we get that provider state? I think that should be part of here somewhere, right? No. Where have you find this part that I can take that? Provider reference. A method that allows a provider to consume other providers, okay, and utility whether the provider is still alive. Check providers on the left side. Provider subscription, state provider, Steam provider. My provider, city provider, run app. Ah, it will be inside of the provider. I think I am in the provider right now, but I think it is inside of the provider up there, right? So we will receive a ref. Do we do that up here? So we would receive here and ref, which will be this part here. But no. To read another provider. Okay, we don't want to have another provider. We want to get actually this provider. So we receive the provider, we get a ref, which is the reference to another provider. No, where we can read another provider. So in here you mean providers, so here we go. So providers are flexible, safe to use, allow efficient listening to a piece of state, yep. So now we have provider.ref, we get a reference inside and return any value. Okay, got it. So here we initialize with any value, but how do we combining providers, creating an object? So what we could do actually is, instead of having here ref, or even we don't need that actually, we could just have here a function and make this part asynchronous. I don't know if this will work, but let's see. So this one returns this part here, And if we have access here to the shared preferences, it would be good, right? So something like that, and prefs would be shared preferences dot get instance, which is a future. We have to wait for that. Not sure if this will work. No, can't be asynchronous. No. Okay, and with that we are again in our problem. It can't be asynchronous. I think we have somewhere the state provider. How does but also the state provider initialize with a default value that is maybe false, maybe true. So this asynchronicity brings us into problems because we're coming into race problems, and if we don't have the value for its dark theme, we cannot set this value here. So this will be not the solution here with the isRead. This was a good option here, unfortunately it doesn't work. Then you say, because with that we have solved the asynchronicity, right? We have here an await in our main. And the problem is I need to call now somewhere this theme provider. So instead of having that, we cannot initialize it differently, or? I don't see any possibility right now to initialize it somehow differently. Extend state notifier, super is 0 at the beginning. That notifier, this is a change of the notifier, that's fine. And wrapping the full part. So counter state notifier is 0, read state plus plus. No. Okay, so if you have a better idea, until then I will use the consumer here at the part where we have to build it. And now we can wrap the whole material app to return. Oops. Voila. And the good thing is here in the theme, before we start now, we can initialize it because we get the value, right? So we can have the theme provider here inside. We can call init with this dark theme. And down here where we get the theme, we can then actually read the theme provider and access the current selected theme. So get theme. So, and the good thing is because we have cleaned that up, we have the consumer there where we need it, and then now I'm thinking the theme data should now be accessed correctly. It was just this line of code that broke our neck with that asynchronous getting of the isDark theme. What would be another option? I think that makes sense to have that shared preferences before the app is running, so before we have anything inside. There we get the information, which could be a boolean on the side, and then we receive it and push it down. And remove a lot of dependencies. Okay, so but now we have still an issue, most likely where we changed the theme, right? Because now we have the Riverpod provider everywhere. And we have somewhere a button, whenever we click it, we change the theme data. That should be here. So, and you see currently we access it with provider off, theme provider, blah, blah, blah. But how we want to access it now is a little bit differently. We use that use provider and then giving the provider inside. So this should be actually use provider. Why is that method not accessible for me? Use provider. Ah, that's with hooks most likely. So that is maybe the problem. Okay, so in our case, we want to access the read method. Was it not read? So we don't use provider anymore. This will kill a lot of stuff again. So here we have again a multi-provider that can be gone. Don't have a child anymore. Removing some stuff down here. And we have just that line that is currently using it. Okay, and so now not the read function. It's getting complicated. Not really, actually. It's not that hard. We just want to get the information from that provider. So theme provider dot read. Is there not a read function? I thought we can get that somewhere. Read only, watch owner. Create state. I think we have that already. Context.off. No, I have seen that somewhere. What I'm doing. So let's read the documentation. I mean, everything is well documented. So the reference read. So this is inside of the provider. Okay, this is one option. So I have to wrap the icon button with the consumer. This would be an option, of course. So we can also wrap this with the consumer and have here our builder function again, which returns us the icon button with the context and the read. And now we have to read with theme provider and can access the swap theme. And I think we don't have to wait. I think we are not asynchronous. Is it asynchronous? Swap theme? Yeah, it's a future, so we can wait here and make the whole thing asynchronous. So it is exactly the same. Do we really have to wrap everything with a consumer if we want to have access to our provider? Because that was the beauty of the old provider, right? If we just say provider dot and then get our stuff. Or at least I thought this would be sometimes very helpful. But it seems like we have now to wrap everything in the consumer so far. Computed families. I think this is if you want to access multiple providers. And what is that use provider? And why do I don't have access to it? That's somewhat weird, or not? Ah no, this is Flutter hooks, right? That was the case. Yep. Okay, so if this is the only possible way, I'm still happy with it because it's way easier to read. The good thing is now we have get rid everywhere where we have that dark theme. Now I try to restart the application and let's see if we have some issues. Provider of get context. Is that possible for Riverpod? Let's have a look. So provider.off context dot no such thing. That would be the theme provider in that case. That needs to be a type. No. Yeah, it's not there for the provider type. And Riverpod is not existing. Theme provider dot off. Oh, that could be. Oh, that's it. Or isn't defined for the type change notifier. Okay, so no, because that is a change notifier. It doesn't work like that. But maybe the theme provider has anything else. I thought this has the read method. Ah, it has to. I took a look seconds ago and it doesn't have the read method, or someone said even that I had to. Look at that. It's way easier. So then we don't need a consumer for the whole thing. Then we can just get the icon button. and return that and finished. Because I don't have a consumer here, because a consumer would react on changes. So if we would change the icon from one type to another, I would expect to have that consumer here, but we don't really have that. We just want to trigger that swap theme in here. I think that makes a bit more sense. So I saw already an error, which I don't like. So let's see. In different routes. Ah, okay. Insert a provider inside a route, then other routes will not be able to access that provider. You used a build context that is an ancestor of provider you are trying to read. Make sure that consumer energy meta provider is under your multi-provider. Okay, so that problem is that we still are dependent on the old providers. So I think I will have to really remove the whole provider package from my package part. And we have to fix all the problematic parts in our application before we can really start, because they are all dependent on different providers. Which is fair enough. We just have to make sure that we have to register all the different providers here, which are kind of a lot. I think, how many do we have? 3 of them. And so we can remove these providers everywhere. So don't get worried, it's just getting a little bit red, but you see we have also a dependency to another provider, which is a good training, because now we have to use this combine or compute function to get rid of this dependency. Okay, but that was our entry. I think that solved already some problems, at least for the one. And I think we will go further with that on the next episode, because our time is close to up. But thank you very much for helping me here out. That was very helpful. And if you have more topics, right? So I will also add that link once more down in the or inside of the chat. So always try adding their new stuff, new topics. If you have more, would be fantastic. Then I can also vote for the next times. And I will maybe make this evening another live stream after we are finished with the add recipe stream from Machtub, and where we work further on this topic, because I really love that topic at the moment. I would love to improve my application a little bit, because if you take a look, the architecture of this application is not that perfect. I hear here Flame. Flame would be a fantastic topic, because I'm super interested in it. I will add that down here. Which heading? 2, I think. Flame. So you mean more game development, right? So pub.dev, I think Flame was for game development. I started with it actually. I have also a 2D gaming created for that in a macOS part, and I really loved it. The only thing is I have no idea about game development, and maybe this is also a long-term project that we say we learn game development together. That would be also fantastic. Don't know if that would be interesting, but we can do that, I think. And if you don't know Flame, Flame is a game engine which creates where you can create minimalistic games. The problem with Flutter and game development is that we are starting at the ground, right? There is nearly nothing created for us. So this is just, as you can see, also very minor versions and so on and so forth. So that is very interesting to create. I'm really looking forward. I think that's a cool idea. Also because the Flame engine is getting bigger and bigger, as I can see here. So maybe we can create a cool thing. I saw a Reddit tweet the last time called, should we create something like Flutter Unity or something? So I really like this idea too, because it would be fantastic to have something like that. So getting started. Maybe long-term learning game development in Flutter. Fantastic. This is exactly how it works. Write just what you want. I will add that stuff later, so you get all the parts and everyone can see it, and we can work together on this open document. Maybe I can also add that up here. Open document. Add your notes, and I will add it to the document, and we work in the future on these topics together. Cool. So I really hope you like that whole stuff and how we are organizing it, and we are getting better again with our live streams, which I really like because I really like these live sessions with you. It gives me like the feeling I have direct interaction. You can answer me questions, I can ask you questions. And to be honest, sometimes I really get hurdle, like for example when we started with that Flutter River pod now, where I made directly a lot of mistakes. And so you said you want to see all the struggle, so you get all the struggle. I hope you are happy with that. And else, we have some plans for the future at the moment, so I can maybe share it with you. Whoa. Okay, I made some closages, unfortunately. But we have some plans with the... do I have somewhere a browser for that? So with Buy Me a Coffee, where we have some ideas how we can improve that in the future. So that maybe some people of you are interested more in our stuff. So for example, one-on-one consultation and so on. So we will also improve there a little bit. Maybe creating an ebook, I don't know. But all that stuff, so that we can get your support even more, because we rely on you guys. Okay, thank you very much for joining me today. It was a fantastic session as always. Looking really forward to see you this afternoon with Mahtab and me when we create more on the what is the problem? The recipe app. And I will take a look if I can share this application as soon as everything is green into the GitHub repository, so that we can see work together on that maybe. Cool. All right. So if there are no questions anymore at the end, thank you so much and see you the next time. Bye guys. Thank you. It was great that you have been